How are you, Qasim?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Annabel?
I was having a really good day. I've been, and when I found out the news, I just felt like just part of me just kind of crumbling inside. And I'm trying to regain my bearings and trying to process this moment where it just is beyond sad and yeah, so I'm so glad I get a chance to talk to you about it. Tell me what you think about this, Qasim. And oh, actually, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Qasim Rashid. I'm the Democratic nominee for U.S. Congress here in the first district of Virginia. We're working hard to flip a red district blue, and we've got a great shot to do it. Annabelle, we were actually having a team meeting um, as the news broke, and we canceled the meeting and put out a statement. I think I've heard a lot of folks describe this news tonight the same way they felt the night of the presidential election 4 years ago. I think there's a lot of parallels to that, and I we've seen a lot of heartache these last 4 years, and from the deaths of Elijah Cummings to John Lewis, um,
Mhm.
and now Justice Ginsburg. Um, I think they're for us a reminder of the work that we have to carry on. Um, these men and women lived and died fighting for civil rights, fighting for human dignity, leading with compassion, never tiring of the work ahead of them, and continuing to lead by example. And while we mourn, I, you know, I don't put any limit on how people mourn. Everyone mourns their own way, and there's no wrong way to mourn. I only ask that we remember to channel that pain,
Mhm.
that rage, even into carrying on the legacy of these great men and women that built up our country, and carrying it on to the next generation, um, to the next year, to the next day. And what's that old saying that strength um, is or courage isn't uh, defined by um, I'm missing the quote, but the essence of it is carrying is to move forward even when you have no strength. That's what
Mhm.
courage is, that moving forward even when you have no strength. And I know a lot of folks are feeling hopeless right now and feeling like they don't have strength, but that's where courage really asks us to lean on each other and continue to carry on. And that's why I really admire the work that you do, Annabelle. I mean, you've been one of those icons of kind of those pillars of consistency and solidarity, especially in difficult times. And I think a lot of folks look up to you because of the work you've done to give hope. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I commend you on that. And now we are 45 days away from the most consequential election in our
Mhm.
modern history. And as painful as it is, it's time to double down our efforts even more and make sure that we carry on the legacy of just RBG, and make sure that we are able to uphold the justice and the equity that she fought for.
Yeah, I think that the thing that kept me kind of more hopeful than I would have been is just thinking about how much she really inspired me personally.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, because she just did everything with so much dignity.
yeah,
Just like John Lewis, and I think that that is something that we have to learn. It's not innate. Like I think that we have to learn how to carry on with that kind of dignity. And so I just feel so grateful. I feel grateful for her example,
yeah.
just like I felt that way about John Lewis and also Elijah Cummings.
Mhm.
These people who really did have so much dignity and moral clarity. And I see that in you as well. I do. I see that in you as well. And I'm grateful for what you're doing and for the courage you have. And I think that this is really what makes, this country and our democracy fighting for. I get these temptations to leave, but I'm like, no, we have to fight for our country.
Yeah. No, I think well said. It's very kind of you, but I think that's where, I'm fortunate that I've had incredible teachers to guide me throughout my life, throughout my childhood, throughout my young adulthood, and to where I am now. And if it wasn't for those teachers, everyone from my parents to high school coaches to college professors to law school professors, um, there's no way I would have done anything of value whatsoever. And I often say, if there's anything of value I have done, it's because of my teachers. And that's where, it's important that we remember the necessity to work as a community. The old African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And here, now more than ever, we need to work together. I think one of the things that you and I have talked about is how even among progressives, among Democrats, there's a lot of differences. But the passing of some of this, icon tonight is an example of how, despite our differences, we need to collaborate and work together and make sure we have a strong coalition of voters to flip these seats, to protect our seats, to win back the White House, win back the Senate, and ensure we're passing legislation that actually protects people, that actually protects working families, that gives people the human dignity that they deserve. And when I think about Justice RBG, I think that's the word that really comes to mind, that she protected dignity. She ensured that every person had their inherent dignity, and she, her opinions, even her dissents, which were legendary, really focus on how do we ensure people's dignity stays intact. And, for me as a young lawyer, when I was in law school and getting out of law school, that's one of the things that I looked at when I looked at about, how to conduct yourself even in difficult times. It's protecting people's dignity and their inherent, their inherent humanity. And that's really what we're fighting for. That's what this election is really about. It's a referendum on whether we want a nation that will uphold and protect dignity and humanity. I believe so. I'm still hopeful, Annabel, that we are that nation, and we will aspire to be that more perfect union. But I'm not taking anything for granted. And I am working diligently day and night to make sure that we can bring about that future for our next generation.
Do you have anything you want to say to people who might be feeling really scared right now, just terrified about what may happen as a consequence of her passing?
I don't want to mince words and say that, it's going to be fine, don't worry about it, because I think that I don't want to give people a false sense of security. I want to be honest with people and say that there's a lot at stake. There's absolutely a lot at stake, and we are in difficult times. I'm always reminded of this quote from James Baldwin in his book, The Fire Next Time, where he says, "I know what I'm asking is impossible, but in our time, as in every time, the impossible is the least that one can demand. And one is, after all, emboldened by the spectacle of human history in general and the American Negro history in particular, for it testifies to nothing less than the perpetual achievement of the impossible." And, I draw hope from that because he wrote this at a time of a very dark time in our nation's history. Massive race riots in the trenches of Jim Crow, a complete disregard for the dignity of people of color, of Black Americans, of lower income communities, of women, of Asians. And he wrote this with this mindset that the impossible is the least that we can demand. And if you look at history, it testifies to nothing less than the perpetual achievement of the impossible. But as we look at where we are now in this dark period that we're potentially facing, I remind people that we've faced similar circumstances before. The Japanese concentration camps were an extraordinarily dark period. Fighting the threat of fascism was an extraordinarily dark period. Civil war was an extraordinarily dark period. But we emerge better and stronger, not perfect, not by any means perfect, but better, because we held fast to our principles and our values, and we united as a nation. And that's where I would call on folks to reflect upon. And it's not easy. I don't want to make it sound easy, because it's not. It's extraordinarily difficult. But I want to make sure people know that we have the power to do this. It's within us. We have the ability to do this. Let's lean on each other. Let's lean on each other for support, for love, for compassion, and find ways to pull through this. I know we can, and I know we will. But don't think it's going to be easy. It's not. It's going to be difficult. But if we work together, we can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I know you have children to attend to. So I don't want to keep you, but I did want to plug your campaign. I did link to the website, and I hope people support you. And so if you want to go out saying one thing about your campaign and what you're fighting for in Virginia.
Sure. Well, thank you. Well, look, I'm a human rights lawyer. I've dedicated my entire life to fighting for women's rights, racial justice, economic justice, international religious freedom. And my run for Congress is really to transform my advocacy into better policy for all people. And right now, 45 days to go, we need all hands on deck. And tonight's tragic passing of our beloved Supreme Court Justice is another example of just how critical of a moment we're in. We need all hands on deck. We need as many volunteers as folks are willing to get involved. Go on our website, fill out our volunteer form. It's easy to find. Send me an email. But let's get involved. Let's get to work. Let's get our hands dirty, and let's ensure that we are protecting the human dignity of every person out there. I will also say our campaign's a clean campaign. We take zero corporate money. We've been endorsed by End Citizens United for a reason, because we're running on the power of the people. That's all it comes down to. So thank you, Annabel. Much love to you. I am inspired by you and your leadership, and I'm grateful to call you friend.
Thank you.
And I look forward to continuing to work together.
Okay, well, I'm about to gush about you, so you better go.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Yes, please go to Qasim's website, everybody. He has, he's very modest, but he's written books about one of my favorite topics, which is the need and how to have inclusive conversations with people. That is absolutely needed in order for us to sustain a real democracy. And so he talks to people who send him hateful messages. You can Google this. And he has incredible courage and faith in our humanity, that he would seek out people who sent him pretty seriously hateful messages, and engage them and even help them. And so he's just an exceptional person. But I feel like it's people like Qasim and all of you out there who can really help redefine what this country is about. We have too many people like Trump and his enablers defining what America is in the most regressive, sinister, downright evil ways. But we can look to people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and John Lewis and people like Qasim, and I can think of many other people who are actually on the ballot in November, who really do represent, I think, the best of this country, and that would help really, sustain the kind of people's movement that we need in order to keep our democracy. It really has to be about inspiring people to participate. And so many candidates running this year who are on the ballot this year actually do that. Another congressional candidate that I know of in Virginia, Dr. Cameron Webb, is another person. You guys should look up Cameron Webb. Maybe someone could put his link in the chat. There's Sheree Kirkani in Texas also, who is running to flip a Republican suburb of Houston, Sugarland. So, I mean, there's so many people that I think. Oh, Mo Davis in North Carolina, also, who was a prosecuting attorney, head attorney at Guantanamo, who resigned in protest at how the detainees were being treated, and he's now running for Congress in North Carolina in the mountains. And so, I mean, they're just extraordinary people who are really doing everything they can to reclaim kind of the America that I think all of us, still believe in. And this is definitely not the time to give up. I mean, I have moments. I have moments when I do feel just deflated, demoralized, and yeah, I feel like giving up. Sometimes I just think, oh God, I wish I could just leave for Canada. Like maybe it is like Handmaid's Tale at this point, and the only thing we can do is run for Canada. Or maybe South Korea will take me back. I don't know. But I have these fantasies of leaving, of taking flight. And really, I know I'm not going to. I fantasize about it. I know I'm not going to, because I mean, this country is worth fighting for. The people are fighting for. The ideals are worth fighting for. And just knowing how many people over time have sacrificed to even get us to this point. They have died. They have made real sacrifices to get us to this point. And it's just definitely not the time to succumb. We have to get stronger. We have to get stronger. And we have to get resilient and do things that we never thought we were capable of. I didn't know I was capable of surviving a pandemic. I just oh boy. Thanks, Margie, for all the comments and the links you're putting in the chat. So yeah, just wanted to say, it's really sad. And I think it's okay to be sad. I cried a lot today. But we can't commit. We can't stop fighting. We have to really commit to our democracy. We have to commit to the fight. It was never going to be easy, and we're really being tested. But I challenge myself and all of you to stay calm, maintain dignity, treat everyone with. Oh, hey, Peter, thanks for joining.
Hey, sure.
Hey, and maintain dignity and. Oh my gosh, more people are joining. Oh, this is great. Hi, Shaquille. And just treat people with humanity, and have faith in our humanity. And that's really all I wanted to say. We can't give up. We can't get discouraged, and I really do fight the fight, honoring all the people who have helped get us to this point, that we have something to fight for. They think of all the sacrifices they made. So we cannot absolutely not give up, and we have to keep honoring people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and John Lewis and Elijah Cummings, all the people who were my heroes that we've lost. So anyway, yeah, Peter, why don't you share your thoughts? And Shaquille, please join us as well. Yeah, what do you think, Peter?
I mean, it's a lot of the same sentiments that you've been sharing. It's definitely been it's a huge loss. It's very sad. I'm very, very sad.
Yeah.
In the Jewish tradition, which Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I believe, was part of, this is a beginning of a new year.
Yeah.
That highlights in some ways the significance, I think, but also I think it highlights opportunity for introspection, but also I believe an opportunity for hope.
Yeah.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life epitomizes the hope as a pioneering woman, maybe even in some ways as pioneering Jewish woman at a time that I think Jewish people were not welcome in a lot of high and powerful positions during the time when she was growing up and establishing herself. So, I mean, she was pioneering in a lot of ways. I think that informed how she saw the law, and how she practiced. I think she would want us to continue what she fought for, what she advocated for, what she worked for. I think that would be the biggest. I mean, Judaism, I believe, Judaism emphasizes legacy, and I believe that is very much the legacy, and about having positive legacies continue. And I think, I mean, the other critical part about Judaism's, and I think this applies to all of us too. It has survived a lot of persecution because of the strength of the faith, and I think in ways that's a lesson. Even if we have a different tradition than Judaism, I think that lesson applies to all of us. That the righteousness, justice, a right relationship, treating others the way we want to be treated. I think all that we are meant to celebrate. Yes, celebrate and mourn, but also to continue the work. And we do need to take time to celebrate and mourn and celebrate her life, and then to honor it by continuing the work that she did.
Yeah, especially because one of her most important work was her dissenting opinion on Shelby County versus Holder, that really completely dismantled the Voting Rights Act. And that was in 2013, was 7 years ago. And here we are with voter suppression taking place all over the country during an incredibly important election. And so just to honor her work, we have to really fight for our voting rights and be very aware all the ways in which voting rights are being suppressed, especially in the South, especially to voters of color. And so we just have to do more. I know that like a lot of people feel like they can't do any more, but think about what Ruth Bader Ginsburg did. She hung in there through all her cancers and our treatments and injuries. Hello, Shaquille.
Hi, you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah. Shaquille, do you want to join the conversation? Like, what are you thinking about right now?
Yeah, I think that this year has just been unlike any other. That's this election is just it's so important. That's the thing. It's just this election is we have to get out and vote because this is not going to be an easy election. This a lot of people may be thinking that you know people are really tired of Donald Trump, but I think it's going to be really close. We can't let our guard down. We have to go out and vote. We have to show up. That's what's really important. And people like I knew Elijah Cummings personally. That when he died, that was a big loss. Then
Yes.
John Lewis. And then now we have Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Our country just in the past 4 years have gone down. That from the progress that has been already made. And I feel like if we don't go out and vote or we let our guard down, we can't win that way. We have to show up in numbers and high numbers. And from the people out that I've heard, they say, "Oh, and I heard someone just an hour ago tell me that Trump will win again. He's not voting." And I'm trying to convince him to vote. It's not, because a lot of people may think, with the Electoral College, they say, oh, well, Joe Biden may win the popular vote, but will he win the Electoral College? So that's something that a lot of voters are concerned about, that the process of that. So, but I'm just doing the best I can to, talk to everyone that I know because this is just so important, this election. It's this in the past 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency. Just look at how much he's already turned back. It really makes me really sad. And I'm remaining hopeful for the future, but we really have to show up on November 3rd to the polls, even if we have to do anything we can to win this election.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one thing I want to point out is that it just even just from today, I don't know if you guys saw these photos of people waiting in long lines to vote in Virginia.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, and I think that
yeah. So that's what I was telling him is that he doesn't trust the process. But I was saying, if you don't trust the mail-in process, go and vote. Wear a mask and go and vote. That's how important it is. If you don't trust the process of mailing in your ballot, go to the polls. That don't sit out the election. He's planning to sit it out, saying that the Electoral College, is already in Donald Trump's favor. And I don't know how true that is. We don't know, who's on the Electoral College or I don't know if you can give me more information on that or how we talk to voters when it comes to that. But, we really have to show up in high numbers all across, the United States, all across.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to show this photograph of this line from Virginia, Fairfax County. That's the first day of voting, and it's just people are voting. I mean, and that gives me hope. So it's not just like a few of us going, oh my God. No, it's like a lot of people understand the gravity of this election.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, Annabelle. If that's what we're seeing now, we need that to triple on election day,
Well, I mean, I think it's great for people to take advantage of early voting.
Right.
There's some places without early voting, like where I am in Pennsylvania. Although now they're going to have in-person absentee voting, but so I think we have to kind of think about this as like an election season,
right,
and not election day, because it's going to take weeks for us to cast the ballot and then for everything to get counted. So altogether, it's going to take a while. And I think we have to get used to thinking about it that way. So it's not about what happens on election day, but everything leading up to it. And then the count that has to be certified, that has to count every vote basically. Yeah. I mean, in terms of the electoral college, what I think your friend is saying is that the Democrats have won the popular vote. Yeah, 2000 and also 2016. You know, when we should have won, but we ended up losing because of the electoral college map. And so I think that's what I think your friend is alluding to. Yeah. So I mean, you know, I personally am in favor of getting rid of the electoral college because I think it's fundamentally unfair. I think we should just keep the popular vote. But this is not the time to give into cynicism because we can win and we have to. I mean, if we don't win, I just can't understand. I don't even know exactly what that means. It's hard. My imagination fails me.
Yes, I'm having a hard time just communicating that. You know, don't sit out the election. You know, that's what's so crucial. You know, I feel like some people will sit out the election thinking that, you know, this Donald Trump has it already for another 4 years. And that's one thing that I'm struggling with is how can we get the message to people that, you know, we need to still show up, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, yeah, it's tough. And I'm gonna try to put together some videos that would help people deal with conversations like that, because that's a difficult conversation, along with conversations like, oh, Joe Biden has dementia, or we're all socialists, that type of, you know, triggering conversation. But I think that you know, I think it's really important for us to learn to have that instead of just shutting down. So I'm working on some role playing type trainings. So I hope that helps you.
I've seen that a lot, you know, especially if I click on a news article, I hear a bunch, like 20 people saying, oh, he has dementia, he has dementia. You know, you hear that so much nowadays. Yeah.
Shaquille, I'll just add a couple of things which hopefully might help at some. Because I mean, the Republicans do have a small edge in the electoral college because of the way it favors a lot of the small states that they that do well in. Sadly, that was kind of by design. The electoral college was a mechanism created to help the slave states, which is where the slaves being defined as 3/5 of a person came in. I mean, that was. I mean, I guess that being said, it can be that advantage can be overwhelmed if people turn out to vote in overwhelming numbers, like they did in 2008 and 2012 for Obama, and like done for Bill Clinton. So that can be overcome, but only if, for the time being, that can be overcome only if overwhelming number of people come out to vote, and that's the way to defeat it. I mean, depending on, I don't personally know who the person is that you were talking to, but sometimes if you let people know that they are that discouragement is what they're trying to do, that's what they're designing to do, and either give in or you can overcome it by going against what they want you to do if it's not interest.
Yeah, I think that's the attitude that they want, like you said, that they want voters to have, you know, and that's, like you said, we have to go out and vote in numbers, you know, we have to be there. But like you said, that attitude is what probably, you know, what got Donald Trump elected, you know, before. It's that so many people set out the election, you know, thinking that, oh, that's, you know, it's just going to be one-sided when it's not, like you said. Everyone must go. Everyone must vote, you know?
Yeah. Well, So why don't we do this? Let's see. I better get some rest because I feel like I spent like the last hour in tears because I was in so much shock. But I didn't want to go to sleep feeling like this. I just feeling discouraged, and to remind myself, and thank you for joining, and and then kind of just to say we can be a community right now. Grief has a way of creating bonds and opening us up because we all feel so vulnerable. And I think we have to really hold hands and bond and really make a pact to make sure that we fight together. We are united by a very important fight. And so that's really all I wanted to say. And then we can talk more about, tactics tomorrow. But I think for today, I just want all of us to just feel like we have to be committed. We have to stay strong. And really emulate people like John Lewis and Elijah Cummings and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Those three really had that in common, that sense of dignity, and their commitment to the fight and the struggle. So let's sleep on it. I would love to talk to you more this weekend, Shaquille, about how to have these conversations. But thank you for doing it, and thank you, Peter, also for joining and for everything you're doing. So let's say good night for now, and then we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for organizing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining. I'm glad that I did. I feel better. It was very sad.
Well, to be continued.
Okay. Good night, Peter.
Good night.
Good night, Shaquille.
You've been listening to Conversations About a Way Forward from Count Me In to Win and The Talk on Main Street. To learn more, find us on Facebook at The Talk on Main Street.